headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
I have got to talk to you about this man. This man seems to irritate me in a way that no one else seems to. He seems to reach the parts that other presidents can't reach. I am, of course, talking about Canada's foppish head moron, Justin Trudeau. And I don't understand why there has not been more outrage here in the UK about his visit and the fact that he spent time with Her Majesty the Queen. I mean, that poor woman having to sit there with him. Honestly, like I said, I'm surprised he didn't use any sort of emergency powers to have her bank accounts frozen and have her removed from society because he didn't agree with anything that she did. Now, if you remember a couple of years ago when Trump came over? Now, I wasn't a huge fan of some of the things that Donald Trump had to say. I think with hindsight and reflection, some of what he said that we sort of laughed at the time is turning out to be more true than we first thought. I'd be the first to admit that. However, I understood people having problems with Trump coming over, and as someone who advocates people being able to freely express their opinion, people were absolutely entitled to be outraged at Donald Trump coming over because they saw him as authoritarian, they saw him as a person that was against democracy. All those usual suspects made the usual accusations against Donald Trump. However, why no outrage when Trudeau came over and stood at a podium with Boris Johnson, talking about democracy and sovereignty and the rule of law, when this is the man that called those people who had questions about the vaccine in Canada extremists, misogynists and racists? He undermined democratic principles in Canada by criminalising peaceful protest. He then rolled back those emergency regulations that he brought in, those emergency laws he brought in, but only after the police had forcibly removed all of the truckers that were protesting, many of whom had actually been vaccinated, but guess what? They wanted to keep their job. He froze their bank accounts. He froze the bank accounts of people who decided to donate them $10 or $15. He froze their insurance. He even took away their pets. And then this man has the audacity to breeze into the UK, and not one person have I seen, not one person other than those on Talk Radio and myself, as someone who has family in Canada. I absolutely love Canada. It's one of my favourite places in the world. I don't know anyone else who is saying what an absolute hypocrite this man is, and why no one else seems to be making this objection, and why no one else seems to be making the point that this man should have been absolutely protested, pilloried and criticised when he came to the UK. How he had the audacity, and I said it when I was talking to Mike Graham earlier this week, and I will say it again, how he has the audacity to talk about democracy being respected, that this was the moment to stand for those values. That's what he stood at a podium with Boris Johnson and said the other day when he was criticising Putin. Putin, of course, what's he just been doing? Clamping down on protesters. Putin has just been using violent means to stop people protesting. Just like Trudeau. You'd be forgiven for thinking that Putin was looking quite admirably at what Trudeau was doing to his own people just a couple of weeks ago and saying, you know what, I'll have a bit of that. I'll do it to my own protesters here in Russia. So don't tell me that this foppish man is someone to be celebrated when he comes over to the UK, because he is a hypocrite and he has only been saved in his own country by the fact that, of course, the Ukrainian war has taken place, and very much mirroring what happened here in the UK when it came to Boris Johnson, and what a knife edge he was on when it came to remaining Prime Minister. Boris Johnson, of course, one of the best left-wing leaders we've ever had. High taxation, high spending, big state. Oh, just out the Trudeau rulebook, if you ask me. He was saved because the Ukraine crisis took place. And that meant that, of course, he was subject to the attention turning over there. And so he got away with it. But we notice, Justin Trudeau, we notice what you did. We notice that there was a lack of protest about you. And I will still call you an absolute, outright hypocrite. And I don't think that the Canadian people will forgive him. And he also, did you see the thing where he was calling everyone who was protesting a Nazi? It is true to say, without a doubt, that there were, as you get in many protests, some idiots who had Nazi flags. You get that in lots of protests. But it was a really small minority. If he thinks that every single trucker that was protesting in Canada was a Nazi, how moronic do you have to be to think that that was the case? It wasn't the case, but it was just a really, really useful narrative to try and demonise all of those people that were simply saying we would like a choice over our body. And the fact that there has been such a reaction by so many governments that claim to be freedom-loving worldwide that they have to enforce vaccine mandates onto people who are, many of whom have taken the vaccine, but they are pro-freedom. They are not pro the state deciding that they will decide the medical procedures you will take in your body. And Trudeau is one of the worst culprits, as I have to say was our own government, and we need people to call it out. So I am thrilled, by the way, that my Canadian friends, apparently my criticisms of Trudeau have gone viral in Canada. And there are various Canadian websites that have been absolutely revelling in my criticism and revelling in the fact that we're able here in the UK to tell it like it is when it comes to that absolute pig-headed, hypocritical, freedom-hating moron. And I will continue to call him out on that, because what he did to my beloved country of Canada, where I have a great deal of family living, I am outraged and appalled, and I will continue to be. But my question for you is, why do you think that there was so little outrage about Justin Trudeau visiting here? Because we're hypocrites as well.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.